YouTube, it's me, and it looks as though we've gotten the camera situation all worked out, so inshallah this will be the first of many videos to come. I figured a good place to start would be talking about my reversion to Islam. I was a Christian for all of my life, and when I got to be in my late teens, early 20s, I started questioning religion. Not so much religion per se, but what was being taught to me. I never questioned my belief in God. Never questioned the strength that Jesus had. But I questioned things like the Holy Trinity. I questioned things like how Jesus could be God. It sounded a little schizophrenic to me. I questioned things like how God got Mary pregnant and things like that. So I had started going to, I belonged to the First Assembly of God Church. I was raised in that church. And my family heritage on my mother's side, her father was Jewish, and so I figured temple would be a good place to start. I went there and had started asking the same questions that I was asking in the First Assembly of God Church, and basically got the same kind of answers. I would get answers like, because the Bible says so, or because it's church doctrine, or because it just is. And those weren't satisfactory answers to me. Those were kind of like the answers you give to a 5-year-old, and I was far from 5. Not only did I go to temple, but I also went to Catholic churches and Baptist churches, and everywhere I went I got the same answers. I even spoke with Mormons, and still no one was able to answer the questions for me. So I kept going back to the First Assembly of God Church, because I was familiar. It was what I knew. And I wanted to continue my relationship with God. I just needed to find out what that relationship was supposed to be. So through a series of, I almost want to say a series of unfortunate events, but alhamdulillah, they led me to where I am now. During Katrina, shortly after Katrina, I had become close friends with some Muslims. We were kind of friends before the hurricane, but not in the manner as to after. And so I became kind of entrenched into the Islamic community, and started kind of fishing around. And then a friend of mine married a Muslim, and he and I had a conversation one night. And I figured I'd ask him the same questions I had been asking everybody else, because at this point I hadn't received any answers, and if I got none from him, then I was no worse off than when I started the conversation. And through the course of the conversation, I would ask him questions, and the manner in which he answered them led me to believe that what he was saying was true and it was right. Not only was he able to answer the questions for me to the best of his ability, he also showed me where I could go to find the answers for other questions that I may have had. And not only that, but where I could go to find the information that would support the answers that he was giving me or that anybody else was giving me. So he gave me many of avenues to go to. And I was very impressed by this. And then he asked me, at the end of our conversation, he says, Marsha, he says, let me ask you, what do you believe? What, in your whole life, what have you grown to believe? And I told him, I believe that there is one God. There is no other. He has no partners. No one is to be prayed to and worshipped but Him. I believe that Jesus was of a holy birth, not the way that the Bible says that God impregnated Mary. I believe that, that Mary was told she was going to have a son that had no father. And I believe that. I never questioned that. And, when I told him how I believed that I should, how one should live their life and different, all the different beliefs that I had, and he told me, he said, Marcia, you've been a Muslim your whole life and you didn't even know it. Because by those beliefs, it's a standard on which, your faith and your foundation lie. And so I started reading and looking at the information that he gave me, and that led to more information, which led to other sites with more information. I was reading books, and I was, going to websites, and I was going to the masjid and listening to the khutbahs and everything, whatever I could get my hands on. And then it finally came upon me to take the shahada, to make the declaration. And when I could never explain in a way that you could understand what a person feels like after they take shahada. Many reverts feel the same way when they do it. And I'll always say the same thing. There's no way that you could understand that feeling until it happens to you. There's no way. It's even the sense of peace and love, and I didn't experience it with my daughter. I've given birth, and that was an incredible experience. Could never explain that. Women can never explain giving birth to a man in a way that he would understand and he would know how it feels. It just doesn't happen. And I felt even more peace after taking the shahada. I can't explain it. There was a feeling of light. Every heavy burden that I had ever bared had been taken away from me. Literally. Everything was wiped clean. And there were tears. There were my tears. There were, the sisters' tears who were there with me. And I tell people this, and I will go ahead and I will say it here as well. I invite questions. I do. I don't entertain stupidity, and I don't tolerate ignorance. But if you have a sincere question, something that you really want to know, ask. Because I would rather that someone ask a question than walk around with an incorrect notion, because that's dangerous. Willful ignorance is dangerous. You're given the opportunity to ask, and many Muslims feel the same way. So it doesn't have to just be me. It could be anyone. You can even go to the local mosque or masjid in your area, and they'll have information for you. You can also visit a website. It's www.freequran.com, and I'll go ahead and I'll post it either, I don't know which site it goes on, but I'll post it for you. And you can visit that site, and they can provide you with information. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, if for nothing more than to be educated. So, and I think that we've covered it. So, for now, assalamu alaikum, and I will talk with you later. Have a great day.